Every so often, a car comes along that defies description and instead triggers a lizard brain response common to any gearhead. It involves drooling, jaws hitting the floor, eyes bugging out of the head, and no shortage of expletives. The 2025 Ford Mustang GTD is one of those cars. Bonkers, bodacious, badass, and bespoke are all fair descriptors for this pinnacle of Mustang engineering. Now, you would be forgiven for thinking at a glance that the Mustang GTD is simply a sweet set of wheels, a body kit, and a giant wing. But would Ford CEO Jim Farley say things like, quote, "I'll take track time in a Mustang GTD against any other auto boss in their best road car," unquote? If that were the case, nope. And for good reason. The penultimate Mustang isn't a road car tuned for the track. It's a race car for the road. That may sound strange, but it's the truth. The Mustang GTD, which is short for Grand Touring Daytona, as in the IMSA's racing class, is a car that no sanctioning body would ever allow to compete. Ford's Mustang GT3, a dedicated race car, is one sweet machine that is indeed built to compete, but the GTD goes much further with technology and power to create an otherworldly pony car, or as the Blue Oval puts it, the Ford GT of Mustangs. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this glorious Mustang, we kindly ask that you click the like and subscribe button below so that you can follow along with the Empty Garage on our latest car adventures. Now, back to the GTD. This mighty Mustang starts life as a body-in-white 7th Gen S650 Mustang at Ford's Flat Rock factory, just like any other model. But then it gets shipped to Ontario, Canada, where Multimatic applies their unique brand of automotive wizardry and healthy serving of surgery to create the Mustang GTD. If you haven't heard of Multimatic, it's best to think of them as a modern coach builder with bleeding-edge automotive technology that is preferred by the best of the best. Vehicles like Ford's GT Hypercar, the Aston Martin 177, the Mercedes AMG 1, and Ferrari's Puro Sangue have all been blessed with the Multimatic magic. Though they do it all, it is perhaps the trick spool valve dampeners that Multimatic is most highly regarded for, dampeners that endow the Mustang GTD with the kind of moves required to rip sub-7-minute runs at the famed Nürburgring. We'll get to the nuts and bolts of what makes these dampeners so incredible in a moment, but first, can we enjoy a collective drool session over the outrageous body of this car? You may have thought that Ford couldn't possibly make a more outrageously menacing Mustang when they released the S550 Shelby GT500 that was produced between 2020 and 2022. Certainly, the crew here at the Empty Garage didn't think so, but then the Blue Oval unveiled the S650-based GTD, and that assumption went right out the window. It sits on a track nearly 4 inches wider than a stock Mustang GT. The hood has a pair of gapping heat extractors, and those fenders. Up front, said fenders are practically wide open to let the air out and are complemented by a pair of intakes out back to suck the air in. Those bulging dimensions are required to handle the incredibly beefy wheel and tire setup of the GTD. Up front, the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R rubber measures a whopping 325 millimeters wide, which matches the width of the rear tires on a Ford GT. Out back, this epic Mustang sports 345 millimeter meats. Forged aluminum wheels are standard, but no doubt most buyers will opt for the exotic forged magnesium bronze-colored beauties that Ford has been showing off. Around back, the trunk lid has been replaced by a cover with yet another set of mesh-covered intakes that are required to keep the transaxle cool. But we'll get to that. And you may have noticed the not-so-subtle rear spoiler. Sprouting from the C-pillars, this mammoth whale tail incorporates hydraulic-powered active elements, all in the name of road-hugging downforce. When coupled with the available carbon fiber active front splitter and burly rear diffuser, the Mustang GTD is ready for total track domination. Speaking of carbon fiber, did we mention that virtually the entire body, aside from the aluminum door skins, is constructed from the stuff? As said, this is no run-of-the-mill high-performance Mustang. To drive that point home, let's dive into what happens when you turn the best engineering minds from Ford Performance and Multimatic toward a collective goal of creating a true technological tour de force. The story goes that this team was about 15% of the way into creation of the Mustang GT3 race car when Ford CEO Jim Farley laid eyes on the clay model. He realized that Ford needed to build a road-going version of the GT3, but not just any factory hot rod Mustang. As Mr. Farley said, quote, "I want to see Porsche, I want to see Aston Martin, I want to see Mercedes sweat," unquote. Bold words. Some would say fighting words. They would be right. And Ford has ensured its Mustang GTD is up to the task. Not only does it boast cutting-edge aerodynamics and a nearly all-carbon fiber body, the beating heart of this beastly Mustang is a Predator in every sense of the word. As in the 5.2-liter Predator V8 that Ford so aptly named for duty in the recent Shelby GT500. Ford has a history of aggressive powertrain names like the Terminator, used in the 4th-gen Cobra, and the Godzilla Super Duty powerhouse. But Predator seems spot on for the Mustang GTD, as Ford intends to use it for hunting the most extreme vehicles from Porsche, Mercedes, and the rest of Europe. Not to be confused with the naturally aspirated 5.4-liter Voodoo V8 found in the Shelby GT350. This 5.2-liter variant is fortified with a supercharger. Boasting 760 horsepower and 625 torques, the GT500 bested a Lamborghini Huracan Evo, a Corvette Stingray Z51, and a Cayman GT4 at Car and Driver's annual Lightning Lap competition in 2021. With dry sump oiling to keep everything lubricated during extreme track duty, a 7,500 RPM redline, and the wick turned up somewhere north of 800 horsepower, just imagine what the Mustang GTD will be capable of from a lap time perspective. Not to mention the aural symphony blasting from the available Akrapovic titanium exhaust pipes with active valving. Be still, my heart. To ensure the GTD can maximize the use of all that juice, Ford and Multimatic straight up re-engineered the Mustang. For starters, the 8-speed dual-clutch automatic is mounted in the rear. This transaxle configuration delivers a front-to-rear weight ratio of nearly perfect 50-50 balance. For comparison, the Shelby GT500 came in at roughly 57-43. And remember those trunk cover inlets we mentioned before? They direct air down into heat exchangers that keep the transaxle nice and cool. A carbon fiber prop shaft transfers power from front to rear, and Multimatic spool valve dampeners are put to work to deliver the kind of world-class handling needed to deliver on Ford's lofty promises. The rear suspension on the Mustang GTD is truly a work of art. It looks like something of a crown atop the transaxle, so little wonder that Ford designed the car to allow for viewing of its masterpiece through the rear glass. The push-rod-style multi-link rear configuration consists of inboard adaptive spool valve dampeners with coil-over springs arranged horizontally. It's all integrated with a motorsport-style tubular subframe, which all comes together to deliver a push-rod-to-dampener motion ratio of 1:1. In other words, drivers are going to experience handling never before seen in a Mustang. Before we go any further, we humbly ask any fellow car nerds watching to join us in the nerdery as we geek out over what exactly a spool valve dampener is. It's a term thrown around gearhead circles as the tech has become somewhat more commonplace in high-end applications like Chevy's ZR2 pickups and the late Camaro ZL1. But what exactly are they? Well, Multimatic refers to them as Dynamic Suspensions Spool Valve Dampeners, or DSSV for short. Unlike a typical shock absorber that utilizes deflected disc valving to manage jounce and rebound, DSSV dampers push fluid through laser-etched openings in spool valves that open and close as a sleeve slides up and down around the valves. By regulating the damper fluid via precision-shaped ports, Multimatic can create detailed shaping and optimization of the damper's force-velocity curve. This is the kind of language that makes a car enthusiast all weak in the knees and swoon with lightheadedness, all while second-guessing their career decisions. And that's not all. Oh no, that's not all. In concert with the unequal length control arm front configuration, the Mustang GTD can vary its ride height thanks to semi-active suspension technology. Engaging track mode from the cockpit sets a dedicated hydraulic system to work on lowering the car 1.5 inches. There's also a variable traction control system that drivers can adjust without taking their hands off the wheel. It'll modulate the engine output and how aggressively the traction control nanny behaves to help while finding the limit. In the Mustang GTD, this is an activity best accompanied by a clean pair of shorts. Putting the brakes on this four-wheeled rocket is a set of mammoth carbon ceramic rotors from longtime Ford partner Brembo. Cross-drilled all around with detached cooling ducts, this system will play a key role in staying out of the weeds and in keeping those aforementioned shorts clean. The red finished calipers look pretty sweet too. Speaking of the finish, Ford will be offering the Mustang GTD in virtually any shade a customer can dream up, including a paint-to-sample option. There's even talk of an exposed carbon fiber finish, though it's not clear if this will happen or not. A similar wide array of color options for the cabin applies, though the only specifics Ford has provided thus far are liberal use of suede, leather, and carbon fiber. Oh yeah, you can also spec touches of titanium for the paddle shifters, shifter dial, and serial plate, pulled from the retired Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptors, as in the fighter jet. No big deal. A pair of racing-style Recaro buckets will be bolted up front, but the back seat will be deleted in the name of weight savings. You can also expect the infotainment offerings found in the current Mustang to make their way into the GTD, though Ford is mum on the details yet. Which brings us to the all-important question: how much does the 2025 Mustang GTD cost? We know it starts at $300,000, which some may say could also buy a house, to which we at the Empty Garage say, have you seen the GTD? That is a lot of scratch, no doubt, but this is no regular Mustang. It's the Alpha Dog, which sounds meaner than pony, sitting above the Dark Horse R, the GT3, and the GT4. Ford hasn't officially said when they will stop making Mustangs with thundering V8s that guzzle gas like Joey Chestnut eats hot dogs, but as the mighty continue to fall, looking at you Camaro and Challenger, you can bet the end is nigh. So if you've got the means and the clout, as would-be owners need, to apply for purchase rights a la Ford GT, we highly recommend picking one up. It is so choice. We'd also recommend clicking the subscribe button below to keep up with the latest from Empty Garage. Thanks for watching.